Welcome to RGBA, Colorful Tech News and Reviews. This is episode 78. My name is Alexandre Valliere-Lagacé, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tyler Ménard. All right, so the big news this week, you probably already heard about it in a couple of podcasts or on the news. The HomePod is finally released, and this morning I started to see some of the first impressions come up. This one is a very weird product for me. I'm not interested in it at all. I'm wary because I don't think it's fully complete. Like it's going to be like a speaker hooked to your Apple Music with Siri integrated. Fine, that makes sense. But like, there's so much more that it can do that it doesn't do. If you compare it to the other companies out there, just comparing it to Sonos, you can do your whole home theater with them. You can have multi-room audio. I know AirPlay 2 will be coming eventually, but like for a product that Apple usually takes their time to do and comes late to the market, it's still not up to all the specs that I was expecting from this product. I'm pretty sure like in 6 months or a year, it will be a different story. Hopefully they're going to take the Sonos approach and not refresh the hardware every year, or if they do refresh the hardware, it will be transparent for us and you will be able to always get the new features. Because if you bought a Sonos Play 1 the very first week it was released like 10 or 12 years ago, and you actually plug it in today, you'll get all the software updates up to the latest one. So that's one of the great things with Sonos, is that they're really backing their hardware. Have you read the impressions for...
I haven't read the impression, but Serenity Caldwell has been going on Twitter and replying to like a bunch of stuff. So I've been reading and getting like questions and answers replied there. Okay. And I think a lot of people have been giving pushback this week. It was announced on Tuesday that it was coming out or something. I think, yeah, on Tuesday that you can pre-order this Friday to ship it in 2 Fridays, I think, in 2 weeks. And a lot of people are saying, you can't compare it to like the Alexa and the home Google Home thing or whatever smart speakers you have, because it's primarily just a good speaker. That's what everybody's saying. Like, stop saying it's not smart or whatever. What you use it for is playing music, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't agree. When you compare products, you compare features. Does it play music? Yes. Is it a speaker? Yes. Is it a smart speaker? Yes. Does it interact with other services? No. Like that's like features that you compare. So if the Amazon Alexa is an awful speaker and sounds like crap, it's going to be critiqued as a crap speaker. Therefore, if the Apple HomePod is a good speaker, then it needs to get a +1 for the audio quality. So you need to compare them like that. That's exactly what you have to do. The only difference is the Siri integrations are a lot less powerful than any Google Home or Amazon Echo integrations. So that's why you need them to work more on their Siri integrations and allow for skills or upgrade the capabilities. Because right now, you have to compare them as a smart speaker. And that's exactly the whole point of having competition and different products on the market. It's to compare them.
Right, but I guess we just have to wait and see.
Yeah, from what I read this morning, basically the audio quality is outstanding. It really is amazing. It fills the room. There are some people that were able to try in a paired stereo mode, so 2 HomePods paired together, which is not available as a feature right off the gate when you're going to get your own HomePod. But that makes a huge difference, and I totally agree. I've did exactly the same thing with my Sonos Play 1, and the sound is great on the Play 1, and if you have 2 Play 1s in a room, it changes everything. So that's why I totally understand the whole point of having 2 pairs of stereos. Everything seems fine in terms of audio. The only thing is that the bass isn't as prominent as it should. But that is the same thing with any small size speaker. The Play ones have the same problems. Basically, they're good. They are bassy, but they're not like a sub. Like if you want to get real bass, you just get the Sonos sub, and then you'll have like your house will shake. So,
And I can't stop comparing it to like the iPod Hi-Fi thing. It's like a speaker that they're gonna sell for a couple of years, and then it's just gonna disappear, and nobody's gonna talk about it. And
yes and no. Yes, it could totally be the case, and I wouldn't be surprised. I'm hoping that Apple is backing this product with a long-term like support, and not just for software updates, but also for future products. Like people are already saying that the sound is good, but there's not enough bass. If you are the kind of people who love the bass, so they should maybe making some kind of a bass speaker to go with it. And then maybe a play bar. Maybe, like they can really go like head to head with Sonos. And that can only be good for the consumer, because the more products, the more competition, the better the products.
And why do you think it's not available here? Like French? Something to do with French?
No, Siri is already French speaking, so that's not the problem. It's all server side stuff. I'm thinking maybe electricity approvals.
Maybe.
I know that, for example, there was a Kingston dock that came out of CES that was featured in a bunch of tech videos on YouTube. It's not available in Canada yet because they're still waiting for the electrical certifications, so the CA certifications. So that usually takes more time. I think in the States with the FCC, they are allowed to like go quicker, and they kind of have like a hidden process where they can ask for the certification in a secrecy if you want. But in Canada, we don't have that, so they need to do it. But it always comes afterwards because they want to do it like behind the scenes in the States. Then once it's approved, they launch the process in Canada, which is not hidden, and that's why it takes like a couple more months, if not more. And I think that's the only reason there.
Okay, and it's $349 US, so it's probably going to be something around like change for change. Right now, it's $434 in Canadian, so it's probably going to be like $449 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, one thing that I found very funny yesterday is as soon as this was released, Sonos put up a press release saying that if you want, there's a limited time offer where you can buy 2 Sonos One for $349. So that's their Alexa and eventually Google powered smart speaker, and you can get 2 of them for $349. So right off the bat, for the same price, you have 2 speakers. You can do the stereo pair that I just mentioned. They also have right now Alexa in the US. It's coming to Canada in a couple of months, and Google Home will also be coming later this year. So all this for the same price, and you have 2. So either you have a pair in one room, or you have 2 speakers in your house.
This Sonos One is not available here, right? In Canada?
It is, but you just don't get the voice assistant yet.
Okay, and the voice assistant is Alexa or Google Home?
For now, it's Alexa that is right now coming pre-installed in the States, just disabled in Canada for now. And later this year, Google Home will be added too, so you can choose the one you prefer.
Why is it disabled by region? Language?
Amazon. Like they just released Alexa in Canada, so it's probably because they wanted to get their own thing first, and then they introduced a delay for partners.
It works Alexa in French, I guess, if they release it in Canada.
It's not in French. It's only in English.
Okay.
So that's another big thing that's not great. For Google Home, it works in French, so French Canadian also. So that's much better, and they actually is pretty great to understand you. So
is it like Quebec French or it's international French?
No. It's international, but with a slight little ligatures and contraptions that are Quebec speaking. So.
yeah.
It's not deep down in the woods Quebecer. So
okay, it's not that.
We should be safe.
Okay.
C'est pas des carottes puis des patates.
Okay.
So we should be safe. All right, so Apple still also is in the news this week for one more thing. They are basically previewing iOS 11.3. So as they usually do, they announce a couple of features. In this very specific case, we were still missing the iMessage in the cloud, and people were wondering like, what's up with Animoji? Will we get new Animojis? Well, the answer is yes. We will be getting a couple new animojis. The AR kit will be upgraded to 1.5, which allows posters and signs and artworks to be turned into interactive AR experience. So the AR team is still building on this technology, and they're still going super fast, full steam ahead, as they say. So that's great. The Animoji will receive new characters. So the dragon, the bear, the skull, the lion. So that's for a total of 16 different characters. So that's great. They even put out a couple of video yesterday, kind of like we saw with the karaoke Animoji. So Apple released 2 videos of singers and with lots of effects. We are far from the just let's screen record your Animoji moving, but in this case it's like full-on effects with lasers and everything. So it's pretty impressive. Business chat, which is a way for companies to interact with customers and request payment, probably also send a tracking number, order number, stuff like that. So I'm guessing it's going to be probably a set of tools that can be configured on the business side to alleviate some of the support from customer services. So that's great. And the big feature that we were waiting for is the battery settings, where you can disable the low power mode if your battery is old. So that's going to be interesting to look at. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to be implemented. We don't have a ton of details. You can find the settings in battery, of course, and you can choose to turn it on or off. But like, there's no like indication that there's going to be a warning. Will that be detrimental? Will that cause the problem, or is that like out of warranty if you use this on for too long, or we don't know.
And also, what I didn't know, and I found out this week, this won't be available for iPhone 8s and 10.
Like, yeah, not yet.
The battery throttling thing.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's because they don't have any batteries that are as old as the 7 and more. Therefore, they don't have any specific data to configure the tool and to know exactly when to kick in to provide enough power. So I'm guessing it's going to be in a couple of months. Maybe iOS 12, we'll see the iPhone 8 and X added to that. And that's because they are going to have 1 year of data on which they can leverage calculation to have the proper cutoff point. So as much as we want them to be super precise and mathematically precise, this is all chemical stuff, and there's way too many variables to just guess exactly when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. So they are probably in the battery module tracking stats and numbers and crunching the numbers across millions of devices to know exactly when do we start to trickle down the battery or not. So that's going to be the CPU, sorry. And that's going to be what they're going to use as a base point to set the features for the iPhone 8 and X. 10.
New Animoji is cool, but I think it's really, for me at least, it's really like the stickers were. Like you use it to show your friends and say like, look how this is cool, and then you never actually use it for real. I used it for the first time to reply to a message this week. I was replying to another Animoji, so it doesn't really count. But I never feel the need to play with this or reply using this. I guess it's more for the teens or something that it's really going to pick up. People that use like Snapchat filters and all those stuff, and they try to, I don't know. I'm just not into it really.
Even if it's not being used, it's a super nice marketing feature. So it makes up for nice videos. It makes up for nice video clips. So, and it showcases one of the temple features of the iPhone 10. So it's great in all areas. If it's not even being used, it doesn't even matter, because right now it's good for what it's worth, and it works fine as a marketing tool. So,
but I think they should really like go full on with seasonal like Animoji characters and stuff like that, like Santa Claus, and now you get Valentine's Day, like Cupid or whatever there, the little thing with the bow, and they should really hammer on seasonal Animoji.
Remember when we said that Apple is using emojis for a reason for their users to upgrade?
Yeah.
Well, this is the Trojan horse of the gang. Like they only give us a couple like that every few months, And once everybody will have like Face ID powered devices, let's say in 2 years, this is exactly when Apple will say, okay, sure. You want the new Santa Claus Animoji? Fine. Upgrade to iOS 12.1 or 13.1. Oh, okay, yeah, but I'm not sure, is it gonna break my stuff? Is it gonna look different? Like, who cares? Animoji. Okay, upgrade. So that's exactly what's gonna happen. So that's why for now they don't open the gate, and because I'm sure the designers, like they were crazy happy to work on that, and they probably like did like 50 of them like every month. But they're only going to be releasing 3 or 4 at every major release, just so that people on the iPhone 10 always are up to date. And once everybody has a phone with that feature, it's going to be like the exact reason why people upgrade their iOS version.
Isn't it possible also with like the iPhone 8, it's just unavailable? Like technically possible?
I don't think so, because you really need the Face ID stuff.
No, I'll test later, but I think you can just block the whole AR like sensor with your thumb, and it still works.
Not sure. Well, try it, but I'm pretty sure it was it was using the mesh, the dot matrix, whatever that it's projected dot projector on your face, and that's what it uses to animate the Animoji. And the last feature is the health records. So there's going to be an health records in the health app. Basically allows you to concentrate all of your medical information from all your different practitioner in a single app. The idea is nice. However, this is not the first time something like that is happening. And I'm not sure it's going to get traction because there's no incentive for anyone except the user to do this. And the user, in their case, being just the receiving end of their services, all of the service providers, they don't care about your phone and your data. So unless you are going to a hospital where it's a partner of Apple for heart research or whatever, then you might have success. But if you are going to any other hospital, especially in Quebec, it's going to take like 50 years to get those things up to date. So don't think about it too much.
Yeah, it's really not. I think some hospitals are starting to even have like on the computer. They ditch like the paper, but to adopt a completely new system, and it's not right now.
Yeah, it's way too slow.
And live update on Animoji, it works if you block the whole sensor with your thumb and just leave the little camera, like the Face ID camera, FaceTime camera.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Wow.
And it works perfectly too. Like it doesn't jitter or lag or...
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what people are saying at the beginning. So...
Okay, so this is basically just... It's a feature that the iPhone 8 could probably work up and does not because they just decided that it's going to be an iPhone 10 exclusive.
Yep. The iPhone 10 is going to be discontinued like any time now.
Oh, yeah, of course. You want to go to this news? The iPhone 10 being discontinued?
There's nothing other. We didn't miss anything in 11.3.
No, that's it.
Right. Yeah, so I don't want to get into it really, but we can just say it since we joked about it. It's Min Chico, I think, again.
Min Chico.
Isn't it him or somebody in China is saying that they're not selling well in China, the iPhone 10, so they're going to be discontinued. And people are saying like they can be discontinued this summer and they won't be selling the iPhone 10 anymore because the Chinese market doesn't think that the screen is big enough. So they still prefer the 8 Plus and they're not selling it as expected or as hoped or whatever. Something like that.
Okay, so if that's the reason, then just make an iPhone X Plus.
Yeah, and then there's a bunch of rumors. I think we're going to talk about it later there. It's just going all over the place about there's going to be one OLED and two LCDs. There's going to be two OLEDs, one LCD, and it's just a mess. And we're only in January.
Yeah. I don't put too much weight on those rumors of the iPhone 10 being discontinued because it's their flagship phone. It's something that they try that is, let's put all of our new technology in one single device. And it's not going to be for everyone. That's why they also released the iPhone 8. So in the end, Apple is happy if you're buying an iPhone 8 or an iPhone 10. They don't really care unless it's like 99% and 1%, then they would care. But if it's just, depending on the countries, go like maybe 10% more on one side and you change country and then it's 10% more the other side. They don't really care. Like in the end, they sell a bunch of devices and you're still like in the ecosystem. So for them, it's just a win-win. And if really the iPhone 10 doesn't sell well in China, well, okay, next year they're gonna have a Plus phone, most probably. Like you said, we don't know if it's gonna be like a real OLED full-size Plus phone or maybe like a LCD version or whatever. But in the end, that's the real solution. There's not like 5 different solutions to do. It's just like, okay, this year model did not sell well in China. Well, it sold well everywhere in the world. So next year we're gonna make something special for China that's gonna be appealing for them specifically, and also for many people around the world. And it's gonna be just a better offering. So that's it.
And I wouldn't be surprised if, like, we say discontinued, like it's going to be stopped. And like, I had a friend that came up that I was at his house on this week, sorry. And he says, "Hey, did you see your phone is going to be they're going to stop making your phone because it's shit." And he was like bugging me. He's like, "Yeah, you spent so much money on this phone and now it's not good anymore or whatever." And that's just what the news is spreading now, but it could be discontinued as in it won't be like kept on the lineup next year and sold as the cheaper iPhone. Like they did with the iPhone like 2G, the first one, like they did with the Apple Watch. The Apple Watch Series 0 was never kept on as like the second second cheaper, like $100 off second year Apple Watch. And
for me, that's a given because the iPhone 10 is a special edition, not to call it the SE, but it's a special edition and it warrants to have a special aura around it, and having it trickle down in terms of product line, it's not going to work. It has to be special. So the iPhone 10 of this year will be the iPhone 11 of next year, or the iPhone 10 2 or whatever, but it's not the one that we have now will not trickle down. It's just going to be enhanced, and it's going to be the new model like they did before. Like when we had the iPhone the 4, they did not keep the 3GS alive. So because the iPhone had a new model, and that's it. So if you want something that's going to trickle down, it's going to be the 6, 7, and 8 series. So for me, that's pretty sure. I don't think they're gonna make the iPhone 10 and then the iPhone 10 1 or 10 2 or 10 Plus or whatever. But that's not going to be the same year. It's going to be just too confusing. So.
But I'm always amazed by how, like, not a normal person, but just a person that's not up to date in all these stuff. How, like, where did he see this, and how did it get into? It's like the telephone game.
It's exactly that.
Like it started off, and then they pick it up by news people, and they pick up the headlines, and then they make a more sensationalist headline to get more clicks, and I don't know.
Yeah, and it's clickbait on top of clickbait and on top of clickbait. And then you have the TV people who know nothing and the researchers there who doesn't care, who try to find an angle and maybe to accuse Apple of something to have more viewers. Well, that's exactly what they're trying to do. And in the end, what do you have? You have somebody coming up to you saying your phone is crap, your phone doesn't sell, nobody likes it, you paid too much for it, it's going to be canceled. Out of those all statements, not a single one is true, but still, that's what the news are. So I'm going to do it like our favorite president. I'm going to call it fake news.
Yeah, and it gets me like all like I want to explain everything and like explain it to people, but it's just not worth it. And
yeah, don't.
I don't want to be that guy, so I just end up saying like, oh, I don't really mind, I like it, and it just means it's going to be worth more in 5 years if I keep it.
Yeah, you cannot fight that because it's their whole world is messed up because that's how they consume the news, and you cannot just come in and say, no, but you know what, you were wrong. These are not the facts. People who believe in fake news don't care about facts. All right, so moving on to a car-related news, Apple now has 27 cars in his self-driving test fleet. So that's something that they have to provide in terms of information to the DMV in California, so that they can be legally allowed to have cars on the road doing those tests. So they are basically involving a bunch of Lexus SUVs that they're leasing from Hertz Global. So they're not even buying the cars, they're just leasing them. And they add all kinds of devices on the roof to be able to basically develop their self-driving technology. And now with 27 cars, it's going to be probably a lot more data to crunch for the team there. So that's good news. It's still plowing through. No more words of the Apple car, so that's probably dead for sure. There haven't been anything related to that for many months now, and it also makes sense that they make a system that any car company could basically include in their options and have installed. So that's great. So the next one, you just gave me this news this morning, and I don't know if I can laugh or if I can just be discouraged. Do you want to go over it?
Which one?
YouTube ads.
Oh no, you can go. Discourage yourself.
All right, so yeah, so Tyler sent me this news today that when you're watching YouTube videos, on the right side there's always a block with some ads. Okay, that's like business as usual, as they say. But the thing is that one of those ads being served is actually using CoinHive, which is a cryptocurrency mining JavaScript library. So basically, you go on YouTube, you start to watch videos, and then you get served like a very simple ad. Okay, no problem. But all of a sudden, your CPU starts to kick in. Like your fans turned maximum speed and everything's getting hot. And you're wondering why. Is that like because I'm watching a 4K video? Like that shouldn't be a problem with my modern CPU? No, it's because there's a library who's actually mining like cryptocurrency on your CPUs right now while you're watching the video. So, and the guy who discovered this, he was able to replicate the same ad with friends of him or other security researchers. And basically, it's all pointing to the exact same CoinHive address. So how it works basically is you open an account with CoinHive and you use this key in your JavaScript so that you can mine the coins and you can get refunded, rewarded with that. So all of those ads are using a single address. So it's probably a single person who's doing that. And that's pretty awful because, first of all, ads are a problem as they are because of the nature of them and because of all the JavaScript that's being loaded and all the bloatware that's being added. But now in this scenario, it's even worse because it's actually hammering on your CPU super fast, super strong, just to make more money for some dude. So I don't know if the economics are actually working because to get ads served, you have to pay quite a bit of money every month. But are you getting back enough from people watching those? Well, from people seeing your ads to like basically be in the green? I'm not even sure. But yeah, it's that's where we are now. Annoying ads with cryptocurrency mining integrated.
Yeah, cryptocurrency is getting into absolutely everything.
Yep.
Everything.
So in terms of hacking, there's one more company being in on the limelight right now. OnePlus is, according to one hacker who decompiled basically some of the OS code, he found some very intriguing piece of code. Basically, there's one that is actually uploading your phone number and your IMEI, which is basically the phone identifier, to a remote address on a Teddy Mobile server. So I don't know what Teddy Mobile is, probably just a Chinese company or a small Chinese company. And it's basically siphoning everyone's IMID and phone number. And okay, so you would say maybe it's not that bad. Okay, fine. But the thing is that there's also a second thing that he found. There's a nice little function there that is called contains a bank account. And it tries to find a number that has between 13 and 19 digits. And if this is the case, it's going to verify that it really is a matching, that it's actually looks like a legit bank account. And it's going to use that for something else. So yeah, it's scary when you go around those pieces of code and you find those functions. It doesn't mean that it's being used. It can also like be one method in a library of functions, but they're just not used. For anyone who has a OnePlus, I would be pretty wary. And the guy continues to go around, and there's a bunch more that he found. There's a parser also. There's also a clipboard manager. He's on fire. So there's a bunch of things that he found out that is not very fun for OnePlus users. When people are saying that we are freaks because we prefer privacy, that Apple does way too much in terms of privacy, that they shouldn't do that much, and it's just a problem for them. It's not good for their business. Well, when I look at this, I'm pretty happy to be the owner of an iPhone, because this is just the tip of the iceberg that we're seeing. And imagine anything else that's happening in that company or in other companies. So yeah, it's pretty scary.
This is all news coming from one of my friends. So he's like the Security Corner reporter.
Yeah. Shout out to Simon.
Yeah. And then OnePlus was in the news again for something else, I think.
Yeah, they didn't say anything related to the first news, but now somebody found a file called badwords.txt that contains words like chairman, vice president, deputy director, deputy heads, general, private message. So, and people were wondering like, what really is this? And they are really quick to reply to this news, not the other one, but this one, saying that there's been a false claim that the Clipboard app has been sending user data to a server. The code is entirely inactive in the open beta, our global operating system. No user data is being sent to any servers without consent in Oxygen OS. In the open beta for Hydrogen OS, our operating system for China market, the identified folder exists in order to filter out what data do not upload. Local data in this folder is skipped over and not sent to any server. So it still makes sense that it might apply to what we just discussed a few minutes ago, that if it's identified as a bank number, it's not going to be uploaded. But like, why have you uploaded anything like at the start? Like, don't upload anything unless the user says upload this data, and you'll have all these problems fixed for you. But now it seems that they try to find a way to identify the data, and if it's one of this, let's say, bad data, it's not going to be uploaded. But there's like so much errors that can happen. Like, let's say bank accounts in Canada are 20 digits instead of 19. Well, it's not going to trigger your thing because you're looking for 13 to 19 digits. So just like bad programming. Anyways, the device is fun. The OnePlus, I have a friend of mine at work who has it, and it's a great device. The camera is amazing. But just for stuff like this, for me, would just be like a big no-no. All right, so moving on to Rumours Corner.
My favorite corner.
We have, the best corner. So we have two little news there. The first one is that the MacBook Air will soon have a replacement, which will not be a MacBook Air, which will be a new 13-inch MacBook. So if you have been following the news, we have right now a 12-inch MacBook that is $1,300, and the MacBook Air right now is $999, so just below $1,000. And we are supposed to be getting a 13-inch that will replace the Air, so I'm hoping that the 13-inch will be $999. That would be amazing, because I think Apple already confirmed that years ago that the MacBook is to be eventually be the replacement of everything that is entry level. So, but at the price that it came out, that did not make sense. So hopefully they're gonna lower the price once again. Maybe find a way to have more a better manufacturing so that they can lower the costs and therefore lower the price a bit. So I would love to see like a 13-inch MacBook for $999. That would be amazing. I would hope for more ports and stuff like that, but yeah, still interesting to see that the MacBook Air will finally retire. That would be nice. What do you think?
I think this is the one they sell the most still, no?
Yes, because of the price.
Yeah, so if they make it better, and more people buy it again, it's the best solution, I think, the best investment.
Yeah. Well, there were schools that were buying some. Like we went with my daughter to look at the different high schools, and one of them they used to request parents to buy Mac computers. But since Apple switched from plastic screen to glass screen, they had so many broken devices, so many shadow screen, that they're basically now asking us to buy like a Windows PC, because they're all made of plastic and they don't break that easily. So that MacBook Air was the last remnant of a past era where the Apple laptops were made of aluminum and plastic, and they could take a beating. But that's one thing that I don't really like is, okay, they're cheaper, they're more affordable, but like, unless you're a cheap adult, you don't really need that. Like for kids, that doesn't make sense, because it's going to be broken like in a couple of weeks. Like kids drop it, they just drop their bag and the corner hit the floor. And so yeah, I would hope to see something that's made of plastic, but I don't think that's something feasible nowadays. Like Apple is way too much involved into Retina and all of the glass and the nice picture and the translucency. So,
and then the next piece of rumor is new iPhone SE. So iPhone SE 2. They're saying May, June. So that makes sense. That's when the last one came out 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So it's just people have been saying it's going to be like edge-to-edge screen and all that. I'm guessing it's going to be the same body and just upgraded guts, like new hardware, like new CPU and more RAM, or just new camera or something like that. I'd bet that it's going to say exactly the same body if you want.
Yeah, exactly the same thing. For me, it's a given. This form factor is beloved by many people at Apple and by many consumers. That's why they sold so many of those. Many people don't care for big phones. Many of those people prefer something that's very small. And given the price it is right now, it makes sense also. For $349 US, you can get a 32 gig. So for an entry-level iPhone that is as powerful as the current year model, what more would you like? Would you ask? Like for kids? Like if my kids were asking me like for an iPhone eventually, forget about the iPhone 7, 8, or 9 or whatever. This would be what they get. Like it's bigger than the iPod Touch, but it's still small enough that they fit well in their hands. It's going to be better for them. They won't going to be dropping it as much because it's smaller. And for me, it's powerful. It's going to be kept current. So it's going to receive all the newest update. So for me, the iPhone SE is the phone to get for any parent, for any people that are just going inside the Apple ecosystem and entering the ecosystem, and they don't want to invest like $1,000 for a phone. This one is just perfect. And for $100 more, you get 128 gigs. So if you're the kind of person that makes lots of videos, lots of photos, and you need a bit more place on your a bit more space on your device, then $449 is perfect. You can probably get this one for $0 with your phone company also, or if not zero, maybe 50 or 100. So it's very easy to get. It's very easy and very affordable. So yeah, they shouldn't change it. The design is perfect. Everybody loves it. Just make it better. I just don't know exactly how it's going to work with the wireless charging, because that needs glass back or plastic back and not metal back.
I'd bet it's not going to support it.
Yeah.
There's just rumors that say it's going to support it, but if it can't go through metal, so I'd be surprised if they do like a iPhone 4 here with a glass back and the chamfered edges there.
No, they won't change that. They won't go that back. No, for me, it's probably people are saying that, the whole lineup will get wireless charging, and somebody understood that as the iPhone SE2, but the iPhone SE is not part of the lineup, like the yearly lineup. It's part of a 2-year lineup, and it's a different beast.
I have a couple of friends that bought the SE and they're really, really happy, so they're going to be happy to know if they can get another like refreshed SE. They want nothing to do with like the bigger iPhone 6 and 6 size, and they don't want to do anything related to the Plus either. So I'm pretty sure they're going to be happy with this news if it actually comes out.
Yeah, and also you have 4 colors, so it's perfect. Like rose gold, space gray, gold, and silver. So there's an iPhone SE for everyone, basically.
And it's also good for businesses that supply like phones to employees.
Yeah, true.
So like salespeople often that travel a lot, and it's like the cheaper iPhone that's still current that they can buy in big quantities and give to everybody.
Yeah, totally makes sense. I don't think Apple should remove this product. It's perfect where it is. It's perfect as it is, and it can stay like that for years because the design is timeless. The design is very good looking. Like no matter the angle you look at it, no matter if it's brand new or if it's being scratched, it still looks good. I think it's a good industrial design. It looks tough. It looks strong. Yeah, it makes sense for me to keep this going every 2 years. I think it makes sense. Of course, I would hope for it to get the new internals every year, but with a 6-month delay like they do right now, like, well, not 6 months, but like more like 8 months. But like every 2 year makes sense, but I would prefer 1 year. But yeah, it's
Yeah, I really, really liked my 5S.
yeah.
I think it was
You
one
still
of
have
the.
it? No, you
No.
don't.
No, I sold it.
Yeah.
I think it was like the biggest, like from the 5S to the 6. I think the 5S was one of my favorites. Maybe the 7 was nice too.
With the 5S with a Touch ID, that was like amazing. Like this, the camera was also great. Like from the 5 to the 5S, the camera took a major jump, especially in terms of contrast and in terms of HDR, and that really helped to get like quick photos that are not actually garbage. So whereas if you had a 4S or a 5, you had to take your time, configure every parameter to really get like the picture properly lit and properly exposed, and then that's when you take your picture. But with the 5S, it was the first phone that I could try to just take out my phone, flip the camera, and take a photo, and it was usually good looking. Like sometimes it was awful, but usually it was good looking, so and usable. So yeah, it's a lot of first came into the 5S.
I have a friend that has one. Not a 5S, like an SE, that form factor, and I was playing with it this week, and it's such a toy. So it really looks like a toy.
Yeah, it's crazily small. Also, yeah, it's I also tried one recently, and it's like coming from my hands with a plus. It's like going down to a baby phone. It's crazy.
I had a friend last week too that I saw that has a iPhone 4 with iOS. I think it's 6. It's with the multitask that's in the drawer there at the bottom.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a blast from the past, and it's not even.
Yeah.
It hasn't even been that long, so it's gonna be funny, like in 15, 20 years when we're gonna take out our iPhone 2G and look at iOS 3.1.3.
Yeah, I also saw a iPhone 4 or 4S a couple months ago, but since then the person who had it like changed it for an iPhone 7. So I was happy for them because I looked at him with like clicking apps, and it was taking like a ton of time to load. And one time he opened his camera by mistake, and that just froze the phone for like 5 seconds. I'm like, geez. And also the screen was shattered. So one more thing.
His is like super nice. It's an iPhone 4, and it's flawless.
Not a 4S, just a 4.
No, not a 4S, a 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually my first iPhone that I purchased new. That was a long time ago. All right, so that's it for our trip down memory lane. You can find the show notes at rgba.fm/77. You can find us on Twitter at _RGBAfm. I am on Twitter at Vallier, VALLIERES.
And I'm Tyler Menard, TYLERMENARD.
Have a nice week.
Have a nice week.